My issue with Glenn Big Dog Robinson was not that, okay, he didn't play well and he got $69 million or anything like that. It was that I saw this man march lockstep with what George Karl wanted to do, because George Karl getting paid $7 million a year. But Randy Ayers becomes the head coach of the Philadelphia 76ers. He's on a 3-year deal, but he's only getting paid $1.5 million. If you know anything about the NBA, they'll fire you and get rid of that and just soak your contract and pay you off. You treated this man like trash, but you'll come and talk to reporters about how brothers need to facilitate brothers being hired, but you had one. And how'd you treat him?
That's really not the reason. That's the reason that he's trying to portray. But the real reason he despised me is because I got into his face. Right. And it almost got physical. And we know what the outcome would have been if things would have got physical. I probably would have ended up getting a big, healthy Ron Artest fine. On top of it, then he would have tried to sue me for 68, 67 out of my $68 million contract. So at the end of the day, it really wasn't worth it. But, I just want to say one more thing. I mean, I want the brother to advise me for another 12 years. So, I mean, if you really want to, I mean, we can set something up and put it on TMZ Sports, and we can take it to the cage.
All right. So that was Glenn Robinson offering to take it to the cage here and responding to you, Stephen A. Smith. What's your reaction to that? We heard on TMZ Sports. Take them off.
I thought about this long and hard because the street in me wanted to react differently, with some of the things that he said. But I'm a grown man. I'm 48 years old. I'm in the position that I'm in. I'm not going to go there. The biggest reason I'm not going to go there, though, is not just because I'm a grown man, I'm a professional, but it's also because I'm the one that was wrong. Believe it or not, regardless of what Glenn Robinson had to say, it was my fault. Which is why this past Friday, on my radio show, SiriusXM, Mad Dog Sports Radio, the Stephen A. Smith Show, I went on my show at 2 o'clock Eastern Time, and I apologized for even bringing up his name. Because the reality is that he retired after 2005. He's been gone for 10 years, pretty irrelevant. And my name never came out of his mouth. It was wrong for me to answer that question by verbalizing his name.
When did you answer the question?
This was Wednesday, the town hall meeting with Karen Hunter. She was giving it was a town hall. It was a town hall in New York City, where I was the featured guest. She was interviewing me. Yep. And she asked about just my career and all of this other stuff, and then she asked me a question: is there, because you take controversial positions, or you're gonna tell it like it is, and anybody ever approached you, come up to you, anybody you ever had that kind of animosity with? And initially I wouldn't say his name, but then I said Glenn Big Dog Robinson. To the town hall. To the town hall.
But you didn't say it on your radio show?
No, I did not.
Okay,
no, I did not. So once they put it out, I went on the air and I said, just because things are true does not mean they should always be spoken of.
When you say they put it out, it just
they just put it out. They sent the link out to tease the fact that town hall was going to be aired, which it was. So when I heard about what Big Dog Robinson had to say about me, I was like, well, you know what? I deserve that, because this man's been gone for years. He's never spoken about me. I shouldn't have said anything about him. I was wrong to do that. Now let me get to the big issue. I was wrong. It was my fault. I apologize for that, because I shouldn't have brought up his name. Having said all of that, I stand by every word that I said in terms of its facts. We don't like one another. We never have liked one another. We never will like one another. And there was a confrontation back in the day. Allow me to give you the details. Larry Brown decides to leave the Philadelphia 76ers and ultimately take the Detroit Pistons job. He leaves in May of 2003. He ultimately takes over the Pistons. They win the title the next year. Glenn Robinson, Randy Ayers is hired that June. Glenn Robinson arrives in Philadelphia in the offseason after his years in Milwaukee, where he never won a conference championship, never won an NBA championship. Matter of fact, the only time in his life he won an NBA championship is when he was riding the bench for the San Antonio Spurs, but that's neither here nor there.
Yep.
He comes to Philadelphia, and I will stand by this to my dying breath. I've never seen anybody more disrespectful to a head coach than I saw him act towards Randy Ayers. I'm reluctant to bring all of this up because Skip Bayless, Randy Ayers has moved beyond this. Randy Ayers doesn't want me talking about this. Billy King, who fired Randy Ayers after 52 games his first year, when he was 21 and 31, all right? Billy King doesn't enjoy this subject being brought up. Obviously, I'm cool with both. I know both of them. It was a tenuous situation for Billy King to be put in. I thought that Randy Ayers was unfairly fired, and to this day, I contend that Randy Ayers got fired because of the disrespect that Big Dog Robinson displayed towards him, ignoring him in huddles, ignoring plays that he was called, doing other things. One time he walked out of a game, Randy Ayers didn't even notice, but Big Dog Glenn Robinson bumped into him on purpose. The respect was so flagrant. I was ticked off. I'm a columnist for the Philadelphia Inquirer at the time, and it's my job to cover the team. And I watched and I saw what this dude did. And it was when he bumped into Randy Ayers that was the last straw for Billy King, who was the president of basketball operations, okay, who had hired Randy Ayers. It was at a game in East Rutherford, New Jersey, against the Nets. And when Billy King saw that, he said, enough's enough. I got to let go of Randy Ayers. And my point was, you constantly have brothers, at least back then when I was covering the team, talking about how, you know, we got to look out for one another. You got a guy here, you know, it should be some more coaches getting opportunities. But you marched in lockstep with George Karl, but then you turned around. And this is what you do to Randy Ayers. So I pointed all of that out on the air right here for ESPN. In the aftermath of that, there was an all-star weekend in Los Angeles at the Staples Center. Needless to say, Big Dog Robinson wasn't there. He wasn't invited. So then after that, the Philadelphia 76ers, immediately after All-Star Weekend, was on February 17th in Denver. I covered the team. I had to show up for the game. Big Dog Glenn Robinson shows up. He confronts me. He saw what I said. He gets in my face. He's talking a whole bunch of stuff at the time. Came right at me. He's absolutely right. He kind of left out that I came right back. Okay? Nobody backed up, all right? Because I was right, and I maintained that I'm right. Now I'm a grown man. I ain't getting in some MMA fight. I'm not getting into a fight with anybody. I'm not trying to engage in violence. The only level of violence I will ever engage in is if it's self-defense, because I ain't going to jail for anybody. Having said all of that, I still maintain I don't hold anything against him for what he said on TMZ. I deserve that because I never should have said his name out of my mouth. He's retired. He's been gone. Nobody's been thinking about him. I should not have answered that question. That's on me. But just like that's on me, the facts are for me. These matters are undeniable. The level of disrespect he showed towards Randy Ayers was so egregious, so unnecessary, so Bush League, that every single criticism I gave him at that time, he deserved it. And I maintain that more than a decade later. I stand by every single damn word I said. It was factual. Eric Snow, Kenny Thomas, Samuel Dallenberg, Allen Iverson, Aaron McKee, the list goes on and on. They were all teammates. It was there. But I'm not going to engage in any fisticuffs. And if he thinks it's all right to brag about what he could do to me at 6'9", 250, you know, what he could do to me, you go right ahead. I'm not going to engage it. I'm not trying to incite violence or anything like that. I stand by what I said, and we do feel the way that we feel about one another. Of all the players that I've covered in the league, we have differences of opinion. He and I do have a level of disdain for one another. It will never change. but I still respect the fact that he was right to say what he said in terms of coming. I was wrong. Okay. I did that. That was my fault.
So
I instigated
my only question is, if you were quick to point out that you should not have started this, why do you feel a need to finish it now by reiterating all the old details?
Because I want to make sure, A, that when somebody asks me a question, if I'm going to answer it, I want to make sure people know that I'm not backtracking from what I said. I was being honest, number one. But number two, I want folks to know that he was absolutely right to respond to me because I should have never instigated it. Yep. It was my fault. Okay. I should have never done that.
Maybe you should have just let it lay.
But letting it lay doesn't acknowledge that I was wrong. It just lets it lay. I'm man enough, if you're going to sit up in this chair and we got to call people out for the things that they do wrong, when you do wrong, you need to do it yourself. And I wanted to come on national TV today to acknowledge to folks, like I did. This is not a product of his video on TMZ. Yeah. Friday, I apologized on the radio show because I should have never said it, and I'm doing so again. Okay. I just wanted to validate where it came from so everybody can understand.
My 2 cents about Glenn Big Dog Robinson from a distance is he was never very respected around the league because he was never known as a player who played consistently hard for anybody in Milwaukee or Philly or San Antonio, wherever he went. So to me, I have not even thought about Glenn Big Dog Robinson for about 12 years, 10, 12 years. He hasn't even entered my mind. Obviously, I think about you every day of my life. And at this point, you are way, way, way bigger than Big Dog is.
Yes.
And so, to me, you're above all this. Like, you really don't need to defend yourself to the extent that you defend.
But I'm not defending myself. I'm here acknowledging that I have no defense. I instigated this.
Okay.
And so that's what this is. All I'm doing is highlighting and giving folks the details about what transpired because I want folks to understand. I'm man enough to admit I'm wrong when I'm wrong. I should have never instigated anything by uttering his name out of my mouth. That was wrong on my part, and I'm willing to acknowledge it.
So I think we're to enough said.
Exactly.
Yep.
Right?
Yeah. But bygones be bygones. It's in the past there. Should the refs be given more power? Former NFL player Ryan Clark in the house. He's going to give his opinion on the refs. We will hear from him and Skip and Stephen A. after the break.